All right, thank you, Winston. And wow, these guys, these stories, incredible. Thank you very much. It's an honor to be able to close the show. And I'd like to start with what a mentor of mine, Steve Sable, the president of NFL Films, once said, is that if you tell me a fact, I'll learn. If you tell me a truth, I'll believe. But if you tell me a story, it'll live in my heart forever. The story is the most important fabric that every company, every advertiser, every person in the world is fascinated by a story. But few of us look within to find our own story. And I say that that happens in a moment, in an instant. So I have a question for you. Has anyone ever had a perfect moment? I mean a moment where you vibrated, you were part of the gods, and you knew in that moment it was perfect. You see, a moment is like this. That's perfection. That is a vibration. Everything in the planet, everything in life, everything everywhere vibrates at different speeds. I believe that each one of us has a perfect vibration. The trouble is, we only have one. And we have to find that vibration that we're in tune with. You see, like attracts like. What you want wants you. And I can prove it. My story is called Finding Your Butkus. Now let me explain that. You might have noticed that I have a costume on. This is the costume of Dick Butkus, the meanest, nastiest man to ever play NFL football. And at 13 years old, he was my hero in 1969. My testosterone-soaked brain was infatuated with Dick Butkus when I saw a film called The Most Feared Man in Football. And I became so fascinated that I wanted to play football. And I loved football, everything about football, and it drove me to become an artist. I wound up being the top artist in my high school, and everything was about drawing, playing, being football. Now, around that same time, because I'm the type of person, I don't know about you, but I love heroes. I love the heroic journey. Everything that there is about a hero or a costume, superheroes were for me. Now, when I do something, I go all in. It's big or go home. Now, when I'm doing it, so I was into superheroes around the same time. Spider-Man, the Incredible Hulk, all these guys. And every week I took my allowance, I get 12 cents, and I could go buy a brand new comic book. And I treasured those comic books. And I loved them so much. Now I had a military father who liked things in straight lines, corners. This was up, this was down. I was collecting the comic books, playing football, drawing football players, drawing superheroes. One day I came home with a new comic book. I went into my room and I noticed that there was a drawer ajar. And I went there and I noticed that drawer was empty. My treasures, my comic books, my art had been thrown away. Now, my father, the military man, didn't like dreamers. And he said that artists were typically failures in life. And if you wanted to be a loser, you just keep on doing what you're doing. So I'm going to save you from you. And I've thrown your junk away. Now, that isn't being crushed by wood or problems like some of these wonderful people have shared, but there was something about that that stole my heart. By the age of 16, I quit art, I quit football, I quit school, and I went out and got a job. I was following what my father had told me to do. For the next 35 years, I didn't just get a job, I worked like crazy. I had 2 dual careers as a builder, a carpenter. I was a martial arts teacher. I did everything, opening up businesses, and worked. And that was my passion. I didn't think about Dick Butkus or art for 35 years. 47 years old. I'd had a change of was it a change of wife or a change of life? I forget. It was one of those things, and it was rather traumatic. I suffered through a divorce. In fact, I did it so much that I've done it a number of times. But at that particular time, 47 years old, had this change, and I had an odd experience. I did yoga. I didn't just do yoga like everything else I do. I was all in. I did Bikram, hot yoga. Has anybody ever done this? Now let me tell you. Let me ask you a skill testing question. Does this body look like it was meant for yoga? I was a football player, a boxer, a martial arts expert. I was a samurai sword. This shit don't bend. Even in a hot room. Oh my God. Well, anyways, I didn't just start doing yoga. I decided I'd be a yoga teacher. So I went to Los Angeles to go to yoga teacher training. 700 hours in a room, 120 degrees with 300 other suffering people. Now I tell you, I was pretty good at everything else I'd ever done in my life. I was bad at yoga. Real bad. In fact, there was 300 people in that room suffering. I was the worst. I was on the dean's list for being the absolute worst yogi ever. And it was hard on me. It was unbelievably hard. Anyways, I suffered through this. I got a probational pass. I wound up back home in Victoria. Now, you know, the yoga thing, as much as I hated every moment of it, it had done something to me. It had emptied something. It had purged something that perhaps I'd been carrying around for 35 years and ignoring. I found myself alone one weekend. My girlfriend had left me the weekend and she'd gone away to visit her daughter. And I found myself alone. I had eaten all the Chinese food, watched all the TV, had ordered as many pizzas as you possibly could, and I was bored. I had nothing left to do. So I got on the computers, 2002, and I knew that there was this thing called surfing. Now, I hadn't surfed anything before, but apparently you could surf a computer. So I got on there and I thought, well, what should I look for? And there was a screen there, and I thought, I've heard of this thing called eBay. You know what eBay is? Well, you type in eBay, and up comes this screen, and on the screen there's a little box in there, and I looked at it, and it had some words there. I took them to say, what do you want? Ooh, what are you interested in? I mean, what do I want? What am I interested in? And I looked up, and I immediately thought, I'm interested in Dick Butkus. And I typed in Dick Butkus, and 800 things came up. Things that I'd had as a child that I'd bought. Footballs and magazines and Sports Illustrated. And I was like, wow. For the second time in my life, I was inspired by Dick Butkus. Oh, I can't tell you. It was like I was 13 years old again, playing on that grass field and loving every moment of it. And one day a magazine showed up, and in the centerfold there was a picture of Butkus rushing the quarterback, about to tear his head off. And I went, oh my God, my heart. And I went, I want to draw that. So I went down to the art store. I bought $600 worth of stuff and said I'd like to paint. I used to be an artist when I was in high school. I've never painted. What do I need? $600 later and a book of how to paint. Great. I go home. I looked at the book, went, well, I wasn't very good at school anyway, so I threw that away and I started painting. 18 months later, I had painted 25 portraits of Dick Butkus over and over and over and over, and I was good at it. And I knew I was good at it. And I went on a quest to find my Butkus, which meant I chased Dick Butkus all over North America till I finally met him.
painting my paintings and doing this and trying to create businesses. I tried to do a card show with Hallmark. I wanted to create a card called Tough Guy Cards. Thought it was going to make $1 billion. I met Butkus. Have you ever met your hero? Don't do it. It's hard on them. Worst 30 minutes of my life. I was there, that 13-year-old child of his father telling him, artists don't make it in life. Here I was in front of my idol, and it just went south. I was crushed. That big 12 by 12 cant log fell on my head, and I thought, my God, my whole goddamn life is a lie. 47 years old. I didn't know quite what to do with that, so I went home and contemplated again. And I got in front of that damn computer. I got another idea. I'm going to write Steve Sable, the president of NFL Films, the largest filmmaker in the world. And I'm going to tell him about how much I love Dick Butkus, because I decided I was going to keep that legend in my mind. And so I did. I wrote him a letter. I gave it a kiss, and I sent it off to NFL Films. 11 months later, almost to the day, I found myself in New York City, in the Lincoln Center, hearing my name and my story called Finding Your Butkus win the 2008 Emmy Award for Outstanding Feature. Tell me a fact and I'll learn. Tell me a truth and I'll believe. But when I told Steve Sable a story, we made it live in football lore forever. You see, we all have moments, we all have opportunities in life. And knowing is remembering. And I challenge you to think about the perfect moments that you've had and go out and find them. They will come from the pain and the suffering that you may have had from some of the events in your life. We all have them. But those tools were put in the way for you to discover who you can be. And that comes in from the perfection of the moment of what you will be. Thank you.
Bob Mueller. So now that you've got to experience this space that I'm creating, and if you got a glimmer of light or a bit of courage that you yourself would like to take this stage, you can apply to speak at www.mystorymondays.com, and there's a little link that says apply to speak. Send it in and we'll get you on stage. Now, I would like you to pull out your phones and turn on the cameras, and I invite all the speakers back up on stage for a group photo. Let's put this back in the land of Oz.